I'd like to call this joint meeting to order for the select board on November 13th or at 5:30.
I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Woodstock Village Board of Trustees at 5:30 on November 13th. The first item on our agenda is additions and deletions from the agenda. Eric, are there?
Could we just move the budget presentation ahead of the annual review? So Robert can lead backwards.
No, that I think we can manage that.
Citizens' comments? Budget.
All right, so I want to thank the joint boards for agreeing to this meeting. We're a little behind schedule due to the select board's pursuit of buying the water company. So we're on a little tighter schedule than normal, but I think we're still in a good place overall. So what I want to do is start off with kind of the talking points we used last year as we went into the FY25 budget, and kind of give an update on where we're at with those points. There are copies of the presentation in front of the chairs if you guys need some. You can't see.
You guys all have one?
First, one of the points from last year was due to staffing and limited time. We did not make massive changes. Sorry, you trying to hop into to the budget, and we kind of kept things in line with previous years. This year we had the goal of kind of doing a zero budgeting process. We're not going to fully accomplish that just due to time. We are going to prep the department heads on it, but we just didn't have time to go into the weeds on a line by line item right now with just where we're at with staffing and everyone's time commitments. So better than last year, but not where we want to be. I think last year we also talked about, taking ideas that I have, that the department heads have, that the finance office have, and start to implement them in the budget. Last year we didn't do that at all, just due again to staffing and new on. This year we are starting to incorporate those ideas. So when we pass out budgets later in the month, and you'll kind of see some new ideas we have for budgeting for Woodstock. This one kind of stays the same. The conflict we have between service that are needed and asked for compared to what our budget and staffing allows us to do. You know, everyone wants their road graded. I mean, as we can, we have a very limited staff, so on and so forth. So that kind of still remains where we are. And that's going to remain where we are until one or two things changes. One is we add more staff, or the public recognizes what we can do with our time and staff as presented. Second, next, going for create a budget that actually reflects what salary departments need. So work on that as well. So kind of really, again, stepping away from just taking what is there the year before and kind of create a budget with department heads, myself, and the finance office actually thinks we need to run Woodstock in an efficient and effective way. Using more software. So this is probably our best success. We're about a week away from implementing paychecks for the first time. And that will really give us the ability to cut down on payroll timing. Right now, it takes us about a full day. We're hoping to cut it down to maybe 2 hours, 3 hours maximum. It'll give employees more insight into their time off, their accruals, so we can not have to waste time on people reach out to us saying how much vacation time I have, how much sick time I have. It'll give department heads the ability to kind of have more control over timesheets and how that works, get us away from Excel sheets. So we're very excited about that. Today, our plan and zoning department had their last software demo for our permanent software, which means we now have 3 quotes, which means we can now choose the best one and use their ARPA funds to kind of go forward with our permanent software. We've had 2 meetings now about using new technology in this conference room. So we'll make some progress on what we can do to kind of upgrade this room. One of the massive benefits of that is making it into a 1 or 2 click system. So other committees, commissions can run their meetings by themselves without any confusion, without any issues with the audio, the computer, the video. It'll all be contained in one system, and also allow people to hear more. So people who do come on Zoom and then can't hear and sign off, ideally they'll stay on and be more engaged for us going forward. Last year I said the same thing. I'm gonna keep saying it. I do believe the budget needs more funding in it. I don't think this year we'll have the $100,000 increase that I think is probably warranted. But I'm going to keep on saying it just so we kind of aware of where I think we need to be. So those kind of the overall talking points from FY25 to this year. So in a year, we have not made the progress I would have wanted to, but we do see some progress moving forward, which we're very happy about. And one thing's not on here, you know, we have almost a completely new finance office from last year with Robert here. Jason Bishop as well, and they're doing much more exciting things in the office than we've previously done. So we're very excited to see how we move forward with them going forward and kind of the changes we can make with them. So FY26, what we're looking at. So I still think Woodstock remains in a place where we are fighting the battles of not being properly funded in the past, and we can't catch up to that right away. Outside of saying, you know, we're going to add $200,000 to the budget this year and going forward, build off that. It's always going to be a game of us trying to catch up to where we should have been 5, 10, 15 years ago. You see that in staffing, and capital reserves, and capital planning. You know, the select board recently just approved a new fire engine. You know, that's something that should have been known, planned for over the last 10, 15, 20 years. Second thing we're dealing with is the state school tax. I don't need to remind Woodstock residents what happened this year. A 30% increase for residents and an 18% increase for non-residents. And almost more importantly for us is we have no idea what's going to happen next year. So we're creating a budget kind of in the dark, not knowing how Woodstock residents will be impacted on the school side. So even when we say we think we need X, we don't know what the school tax is going to be. So it's very hard for us to kind of create a fair budget when we also don't know the impact that's going to happen to residents on the school side. And that's, I think, for us very frustrating because it's very hard for us to advocate for what we need, but also trying to be cautious of hurting our residents at the same time. Balancing competitive salaries with available funds and historic wages. What I mean by that is in today's world in the Upper Valley where housing is very difficult to get good people, you have to pay them competitive salaries. We don't have a lot of available funds used for those salaries. The other impact of that is we have historic wages, which means I may find someone I want to bring in and pay them a competitive salary, and I bring them in, but then they're coming in and leapfrogging 5 to 10 employees who've been here for 5, 10, 15 years, making less money. So then you have to really try to catch them up as well, so it's equitable. So it's not as simple as saying, I need $10,000 more to hire Brenda. It's I need $10,000 to hire Brenda, then 5 for Frank, 5 for Stephen, 5 for Ray, 5 for Jeffrey, and so on. So it does create issues when you're trying to hire new staff of trying to keep everything equitable to be fair, but also keep the environment positive internally. We're going to continue to look at ways to use software to improve productivity and efficiencies by taking on the water company. That's going to allow us a little more wiggle room to see what technologies are out there. Can we bring their billing system into NEMRIC? Do we take their system for our sewer and taxes? So like just looking at ways we can really expound on what we're doing and find ways to be a little more efficient for everything. Good news, goals. We created goals. Why does that matter? Because I think it's a great way to fall back on when we have discussions on budgets, on decisions to make, to say, okay, we've decided that these are the things we should follow. So how does this align? How does this decision or potential decision align with our goals? And then each budget decision priorities kind of fall under that as we talk about budgets for this year, next year, even just decisions on agendas and tasks and priorities for employees. You know, is it creating new housing development? Is it effective, efficient government? Does it help affordability? Does it help with the climate? Those are kind of the overarching goals the boards agree to. And we should kind of highlight them as we go through our conversations. And now I'll turn it over to Robert.
Hello, everyone. Robert Densmore, Finance Director, Town of Woodstock. Some of the challenges that we are facing in the fiscal 26 budget is rising healthcare costs. I think just the cost of employee and employee benefits is just going to continue to be the larger impact of any increases that you're going to see based off union contracts. And then, like I said, the healthcare, we just they give us a number of what the increase is, and we, have the amount that's the employer versus employee portion. So this year, we got for MVP an average of increase of about 11.5%. I have not received any information from dental or the other insurances that we pay for. Along with just overall healthcare, we're also going to allocate healthcare differently this year. So in the past, it's always gone into the employer paid benefits, and it's been mixed in with FICA, been mixed in with VEMRs. So we're going to take that out, and we're going to put it into the select board's budget. We're going to put it in the trustees budget. We're going to put it into the executive budget for sewer. So you can see what that actual healthcare cost that we're budgeting for is, and not just, okay, what is this employer paid benefits actually cover? It's going to allow us to be more efficient and more accurate with tracking the employer paid benefits, because that's going to limit what's in the employer paid benefits to just our federal and state taxes, and then our VEMRs, which is the retirement system that all municipal employees have, full-time municipal employees have. And then we've also had some challenges with turnover. As Eric mentioned, we have a fairly new finance staff. I've been here just over a year. Jason's been here since August. Patricia has been here 4 years, but overall, I think the accounting staff and just staff in general is a fairly newer. The directors of each department, you see, we have one long-term director, and the rest are fairly within a year or two of their original hire date. So we're also training people to build a budget in a way that, works for, it's clear enough that we can present it and everyone understands what it is. And the last challenge that I have is we've been off of our capital purchases. In the midst of everything, we have a couple examples of like our fire trucks. We have one on order now that has been approved, but there probably is a need for at least another one here in the relatively near future. But it takes time just to get the one fire truck. So what happened is from what I can see, we purchased fire trucks at around the same time without a real replacement schedule. So when it comes to replacing them, now all of a sudden we have this large impact on our budget because we have the need to replace the fire trucks to provide that service to the town and village of Woodstock. DPW equipment, typically that's been on like a 5-year cycle. We are a little bit off that right now. We're trying to utilize this budget to bring things back into that 5-year replacement cycle. And it's the same thing to provide good service for the residents, keep the roads plowed, keep them graded, keep doing the projects that, keep everyone happy with, with the conditions of, with our public works. And then sewer equipment, this also comes with, there is going to be the wastewater treatment plant that we know is coming up, but also just sewer equipment in general. We have done a better job of putting money aside for what we need in the sewer department, but we're not putting enough money away for everything. There is going to be like larger impacts in the budget going forward with what we need to replace. In the midst of all this, our plan for the future is we are looking at creation of a 5-year capital plan. I have sent out some notification or communication to all the department heads to give me a 5-year plan of what you foresee at least requesting in your capital purchases. And with that, we're going to use that to help us build budgets in the future. And then we're going to also continue to make sure we're looking 5 years in the future so that we don't get put in these situations again. With that, our initial budget projections, as of now, from the department head requests, we're projecting that the town is going to have roughly a 7.5% increase. The village is showing right now around 11%, and sewer is showing around 4.5%. These are just from the department head requests, and like I said, the majority of these increases are salaries and benefits. We do have like a new firefighter contract that's going to be coming up. We have the police contract is in the final year, which had a significant bump in salaries. And then we are also going to have like a new dispatch contract. So with that comes those higher impacted items because we're trying to compete with surrounding areas to make sure that we have adequate and trained and good staff. These numbers also don't include any changes that would be made by myself or the municipal manager to, add what we would need as far as like maybe positions here or anything like that to help us become more efficient and to get us in a point where we're not just treading water, but maybe actually able to plan for future items. And another big item is we don't necessarily have a lot of new revenue options. So a lot of when I'm doing my revenue projections, I'm using historical data to see where we're trending, see if we're trending up, and I'm trying to get it as close to accurate as possible so that we can show what we're going to bring in to help, I guess, lessen the effect of these increases on the taxpayers. So there is some increased revenue, but it's one of those where if we don't find a way to, if we don't have these other options, that's where you're going to see a lot of increases on the property taxes themselves. So with the budget build, what's coming next? So we plan to have the budget to you, the trustees and the select board here in the next couple weeks, and which would be after Eric and I meet. And then once you have the budget in hand, we will schedule some joint meetings to hear from department heads. And then in December, we will have individual board meetings and trustee meetings to make changes and approve the budgets. And we hope to have budgets fully approved by January 4th of 2025. So it is going to be a little bit fast and furious, but we used a lot of historical data to create these budgets. So as you will see, that when we present the sheets, you're going to see each line, the percentage increase, the amount increase, or you'll be able to see the whys, not just the increase. So you'll be able to see where we are allocating these funds. And last, if there's any questions or comments, I'll be happy to answer.
You know off the top of your head how much health insurance went up last year?
I do not. I will have to look into that. That's something I can get you tomorrow.
Robert, I had a question.
Okay.
I was just wondering, did you say that those projected increases include or don't include the new contract wages for the unions?
So for fire, it includes it. For dispatch, we put in kind of a blanket number because we have not completed negotiations yet. And then the police contract is coming up on the final year of their contract, so that is also included. So the only thing not included would be dispatch, but we put in a buffer of an amount that we project to cover what the increase would be.
And you got the
Okay.
high contract,
Thanks.
union contract too.
Yeah, I have all the contracts, so anything that's under contract is reflected in the budget. So the only items that are the only contract that's an unknown at the moment is dispatch.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When do you said, so you said you've got, so far, healthcare, a piece of it is 11.5% increase. And what were the other pieces? Dental and what else?
So we have MVP, which is our healthcare, then we'll have dental, which is through Delta Dental, then we have the iMed, which is our eye care. And then we have a couple, I believe, like a short, long-term disability and like, if I remember, there's 5 of them.
So you've got one piece and there's another 3 or 4.
But I projected them to have a similar increase to the healthcare. So I kind of took that projection and, you know, I figured it'll be close. I figure they'll probably all have around the same amount of percentage increase.
And just one on that, the health insurance goes from January to December. So the 11.5% is this January through next December. So we won't know what the second half of next year's increase will be like until around this time next year. So it's a projection that we're based on half the fiscal year on what we think health insurance costs will go up next year. We won't have a hard number on it.
Check that out. So I projected the 10% for the second half of the year, and I used what the number is for the first half of the year. So the overall increase will probably end up being a little bit higher in the long run if there's a second increase on it, but I did account for that in the original budget. And like I said, I broke those numbers out, so we'll be able to kind of track that year to year. Rather than right now, it would be a lot more time consuming to pull out all the numbers and figure it out. Now you're going to have a number where you're like, okay, let's look at where healthcare is in the budget for 26. Now let's project for 27. So I feel like it'll make it a little more clear for the trustees and the select board to have that information.
Robert, do we look at alternatives to MVP?
With everything going on currently, we did not this year. That is something that we want to do in the future. So that is something that when I saw the increase, I was like, okay, do we have the bandwidth at this moment to look into this? And, you know, with everything that was going on in Woodstock at the moment, we did not have the time. And now we're, you know, less than 2 months. And I feel like it would take, I don't know how long it would take to get a new company or get quotes, then move to a new company and what that would all look like, the process of it. Cause I've never actually done something like that. So it would be all new for me. So it's something that we got a pin in to look into in the future. And then, but we did not look into it this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sorry, Robert, last question. Have we received any returns from the local options tax that we started on July 1st? So it's been effective since July 1st. We should have closed a quarter by now.
We did. So I looked into this today, actually. And it looks like for the sales tax portion of it, we received 88,000 for the first quarter of the year. Mind you, the first quarter is always one of the better quarters because of foliage.
Yep.
So we can't flat project it out for the four quarters. But it was
A better quarter.
It was a good quarter. It was in comparison, it was about 40% of the overall what we overall received in the local option tax between room and meals and sales tax. So I don't know, I'd have to see if I can project going forward based on that number, but I need at least another quarter, maybe 2 to see if the trend stays. So it's something I'm keeping my eyes on. But yes, we received, I believe it was $88,000 for the first quarter of fiscal 25.
That's great. Yeah, I think it would be interesting to map that to the meals, rooms, and lodging tax for projection, but also a good part of it will likely be consistent if it's coming from online sales for residents that we know are going to be consistent throughout the year.
And I do expect second quarter will also we'll probably do well in the second quarter because, as you said, I mean, it's holiday season. So there's usually a lot of shopping this time of year, as well as we have Wausau coming up, and which is one of our big events. So that should have an impact. And just the overall holiday season, I think we are fairly busy in the hotel, in the Woodstock Inn. So I think that will have a good effect on the options tax. That's why I need probably 3 months to 4 months to or 3 quarters to 4 quarters to get the full mapping. of
Yeah.
my project.
That's great. Thanks so much, Robert.
You're welcome.
No? Well, that-
So what's next? The next.
Yeah,
meeting
so,
is another-
yeah, Robert and I will get together and kind of go over, the budget. Okay, second, so. The microphone, sorry, so. Myself and our finance office will get together and go over the budgets, and then when we're ready, we'll send it over to both boards and schedule joint meetings at the same time. I think we have probably 7 departments we probably want to come in front of the boards. So either one long meeting or 2 shorter meetings to get through it. But I'd like to have those sooner rather than later so department heads can kind of get in front of the boards and talk about their department for the next year, for you guys having a sense of what they need.
And so that's probably gonna be December.
Early December, yeah, with the holiday coming up, probably, yeah.
Anything else on the budget?
I have.
Okay, then the next item on our agenda is the municipal manager annual review, which we are a couple months late on. Been busy, so that's okay. So everybody knows, just like we did last year, the board sent out to department heads some questions about how they thought Eric was doing with his job, questions about sort of like communication, how he's running things, is he being helpful, those sorts of things. All of the trustees and select board members have received those responses. Eric has not. And then Eric sent us yesterday or 2 days ago, yesterday evening, last night, in his free time, his self-review. So I think what would be helpful is just if you want to sort of go over that and your highlights so that everybody can hear what you think, and then we can maybe open it up to questions or comments from the boards. Is that okay with you, Ray?
Unless people want to go into executive session.
I'd rather go into executive session.
Oh, okay.
You're in the meeting, so.
You don't want to go into executive session.
Okay, without hearing
Well,
from
we
Eric
can hear
first.
we can hear from Eric.
Yeah,
first,
let's hear from
right?
you first.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I sent my memo, I think, yesterday afternoon. So kind of think high level, we can make this a public record if you want. You know, I feel I'm in this role now, I think 21 and a half months around this time. I feel I'm a much different person than I was last July or August when this happened. Just more comfortable in the role, more comfortable dealing with the boards, more knowledge of the internal workings of the municipality, of the finances, more knowledge of Woodstock as a whole, the people in it, the businesses, more comfortable talking to people as a representative of the town than I was before. Sometimes more comfortable saying no to people, which is helpful and also difficult sometimes. So I think I've grown the role. There's still a lot more I can do. There's still a lot more I need to do. But I'm much more confident today than I was this time last year. A lot of what my time was last year was dealing with the flood, going through the FEMA process. You know, not to get into the details, basically, you get a FEMA representative, you work with them on reimbursements. We had one, I submitted everything. I thought everything was fine in November. I got a random email in January from another FEMA representative asking to meet. And they said everything that was done before was wrong. That representative no longer works for FEMA. And so we started the whole process all over again and completed that, I think, in May. We've gotten all the expenses we put out for the flood, besides about $15,000. Vermont goes slower, as we all know. So when they reimburse the town, we'll be over our overall cost for the flood. So we'll be fully reimbursed for everything that we spent after the flood of 2023. So I'm very happy with that. Good news, bad news, a resident also got approved for a FEMA loan to elevate their house, because they've been flooded in 2011 and again in 2023. The good news is we have a resident who can now eventually move back in the house and be out of the flood zone. The bad news is it has to flow through the municipality because it's how FEMA works. So I'll be working with the residents. We'll be doing, Robert and myself will be doing the procurement, the reimbursements, all that stuff, to make sure that they can basically have a house to live in. So we're working with them. So that'll be kind of another process to go through this year. I think the biggest thing, as we all know, is the water company. The select board has really taken the lead over the last year on trying to go through with this acquisition. It's taking up a lot of their time, a lot of my time, a lot of our staff's time. You know, just because Robert's in the room, you know, the amount of times he went over and met with Gyra through this process to look at their financials, look at their budgets, ask questions so he could be prepared in case of a successful vote, is above and beyond what we ask our normal employees, and we're understaffed to begin with. You do A, so you can't do B. The select board really want to try something different with community engagement. So the last 2 months, we've been really night meetings, morning meetings, weekend meetings. They were just at the Vondell this past weekend. So a lot of us put a lot of time into kind of trying to find the best way to communicate the necessity of this purchase. And the trustees also did a lot of work on the back end. You know, the letters you wrote, the conversations you had with people in private and in public, especially those who work in a business or up front and have those conversations are really helpful. You know, we did something in a year that Woodstock was able to do in over 100 years. So I think we're all very proud of that. I'm very proud of that. So I think those are the good things. You know, I think I still struggle with time and allocation. You know, I do feel the need to have to work mornings. You know, I wake up, check my emails, make sure I don't come into any kind of disaster. Use the evenings, clean up emails, respond to things. You know, a few hours on the weekends, not abnormal, just because the sheer scope of work that comes in. You know, if I don't check my email from Friday at 4:30 to Monday at 6 a.m., I probably have 40 to 50 emails that need some kind of response to, which if I don't answer them ahead of time, then my whole Monday is answering Mondays, you know, emails of the weekend, and then you go forward and forward. So there is a lot of work. There is a lot of demand, I think, not only on myself, but on the staff here. I mean, we don't say it, but the word burnout is whispered between each other, just for the sheer scope of what people are trying to do, you know, in the limited positions and the expectations from residents on what should be done. You know, just recently I got an email from someone the day of the water vote at 2:41 p.m. and then a phone call at 9 a.m. the next day asking me why I hadn't responded to them yet. And I was like, you know, we had a vote that day. I was kind of preoccupied. Your thing was probably like, that is what we get, you know, on a daily basis, the expectation that we'll respond to someone, help them immediately. It does take up a lot of our time. I think there is, you know, I kind of alluded this in my letter, is that I came here to do things. I didn't come here to stay in office and not do things. I'm proud of the work we've done, but I think I've also created my own monster in the sense that people know that we're doing things. So then it's like, oh, great, Eric's here. Let's do more things. And you don't want to lose that energy because you want people to be excited to make changes. But it does kind of create this never-ending scope of work. And, you know, when we do something good, people want it to be better. When we do something great, people want us to do the next thing. And so that is kind of a avenue that I'm trying to navigate. You know, I'd like to take more time off, but when I take time off, I come back to more work that doesn't get done. You know, we don't have the built-in, Eric's gone, so someone's going to do all this work, and, you know, it's Eric's gone for 2 days, so now it's 2 days of work on top of it. So we're trying new things, you know, having new staff that come in like Robert, Jason, Stephanie, Kitty, you know, I'm forgetting some other people, but coming in and being able to take on more work, but also kind of try to find ways to streamline things. It's good and bad. I haven't seen the budget. I've been so busy, I haven't looked at the budget, but I have faith in Robert and Jason, his department, to do the budget. So that's off my plate for a little bit. So I'm still balancing how best to, you be successful in this role. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm very excited what we have done and what we're going to continue to do here. I think each day we're making a little bit of progress. I was in an interview today with a potential employee, and they kind of asked why we work here, why we like to work here. And what I said to them was, I think every day in Woodstock, you have a chance to make a difference. And we're actually doing that internally and externally. And that makes me very happy, and it makes some of the frustration worth it, knowing you're actually going to achieve something good in the long term. So I know we have a lot to do. I know I have a lot to do to get better, but I am excited about where we're at less than 2 years in my time here.
You guys want to talk here, or we want to go straight to executive?
Going to executive session.
Okay, then I would make a motion for the trustees under 1 VSA 313 to go into executive session to discuss personnel issues. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Okay, I'd like a motion to go into executive session under 1 VSA 313 to discuss potential personnel issues.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You going to break up?
Yeah, we need to break a room for you and
Well, I think, or do you have to create?
I'll go. Gotta do this. Let me go over here. So.
You get a. One. Hey, I like.
It's on.
Your volume. I'd like to have someone make a motion to, award Eric Duffy, the town manager, a $10,000 bonus.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I would, I make a motion on behalf of the trustees to give Eric a $10,000 bonus allocated between the town and the village. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Motion to adjourn?
This
Not yet.
minutes.
I don't care about the agenda.
Good motion.
Is there any other business to come before the trustees this evening?
There's approval of, oh yeah, sorry, other minutes, yeah.
Okay, is there any business to come before the select board? Because Ray can't read the agenda.
Nobody doesn't care about the
I
agenda.
know Ray doesn't have the agenda.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes from 8:20, 8:28, 9:05, 10:22? First select board,
So
I'll
moved.
make that motion to accept.
second? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I make a motion, the trustees to approve the minutes from 8:20, 8:28, 9:05, and 10:22. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn for the trustees.
Here a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn for the select board.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a
Thank
second?
you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hello.
Thank you.
So
Bye.
fast with that, Greg.
What?
Retarded, we had,